Good Tuesday morning to everybody watching live on LinkedIn. We will give a few seconds to allow people to join because I doubt people are going to push that Kirsty and Toby are live button straight away. But we are live talking about the Evolving HR Conference with 76 days to go. Kirsty, how are you feeling?
76 days is 11 weeks, I worked out. It's 11 weeks today. So it can't be, there must be 77 days then, mustn't it?
70. Oh, okay. So 76 sleeps.
Let's go with that. Yeah, 11 weeks today. And I think having gone to the Great Geek Together on Friday and being in that kind of environment with the HR community, I'm just even more excited about it. Plus, I got to speak about it a lot because people kept asking me, and that was really nice. So, yeah, very excited, very excited.
11 weeks. Is there much left to reveal in this 11-week period? Have we revealed everything?
We haven't revealed everything at all. And, there's still stuff that I don't know. Hi, Charlie. It was lovely to meet you on Friday in person as well. I haven't got all of the information yet to be able to reveal it. So we know who is doing 2 of our panel discussions, but we don't have topic/titles for those yet. And I think there's a couple of the storytellers that I don't have titles for yet. And there's a couple of things that we're not going to reveal until the day as well. So yeah, it's interesting. Now I, as you know, have we revealed? Well, we have revealed that you're emceeing the whole day, haven't we?
I think revealed makes it sound like it's an exciting thing. I think like we're going to subject people to a day of my emceeing.
Oh, excuse me. I'll just smash a plate. It's not even that early for me. It's 25 to 10. I got asked on Friday at the Great Geek Together. I think about 10 people asked me what I was doing on the day and whether I was speaking. And I haven't planned to, as you know. I didn't want to be particularly on the stage. That's why you're emceeing it. But now I'm like, maybe I should do something.
You'll be on stage. Don't worry. I was thinking about this in the car this morning, and I was
were you?
okay, so Kirsty's you are gonna get on stage at least twice, once at the beginning and once at the end, and probably for a panel.
Okay.
And then
actually, I am facilitating one of the panels.
So there you go. So you're definitely doing a panel, but you will be on stage at the beginning and the end of the day. I can guarantee that. What I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to tell you until the day. I've decided that's going to be a complete surprise. I'm not going to do smash hits because that's your format. I can't steal that. But I will come up with something where you can get you on stage because you are evolving HR, so you are the face. I am merely the megaphone. I think that's quite apt. That will be broadcasting words of the day. Architect sounds fancy. I'm quite like brute force, shouty.
Who built the app, Toby?
Emily. I can't even sit here and pretend. So that's not fair. So I built version 1. Emily built version 2.
Gotcha.
And I think we can all agree version 2 is better than version 1. So I'm going to say Emily is the architect.
We are at 900 users pretty much now.
We'll be at 1,000 before the event, right? That's gonna.
We will. I mean, it's like the webinars are a really, really cool way of building, just having people use it a bit more than just a resource to search for things. So that's really cool. And it's funny. It's like, the topics that have come up for planning these webinars, all of them would be good topics for a conference as well. So it's like, it's really nice to have that forum in addition to the conference to be able to share people's knowledge and, get some of that good stuff out there as well. But the conference, I'm super excited about the number of different topics that we've got being covered that I'm interested in. Someone was saying to me on Friday, is it going to be similar to this event? So no is what I would say. Now, Michelle and her Great Geek Together, and also Emma with the HR Big Meet, what they've created, that vibe is all about community and connection and belonging. And it's very much focused on the HR professional as an individual. So The Evolving HR conference is not the same as that. Those two ladies are doing that beautifully. We don't need another one of me doing that. Mine. I always wanted this to be a conference where you learn stuff that will help you in your role and stuff that will help you as an individual. So it's more, I really don't want to use traditional conference because that's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to create, but an opportunity to learn both professionally and personally, but in a totally non-boring, non-salesy way. I've got to get better at explaining this, haven't I?
I think you're better than you give yourself credit for. That I think because you're kind of breaking new ground, right? That what you're setting out to achieve hasn't really been done in the HR industry in particular. You either get the community focused ones that are absolutely incredible, because I was there on Friday as well. Michelle's and Emma's, massive shout out to incredible events.
Because I can't do a single call without some sort of fidget toy because ADHD. I have a whole load of HR Geek Squad stuff to hand that I'm just fiddling around with this morning. So put it down, fiddle.
And then there's the boring conference type events, like that. I know when we first spoke about it, you and I were just like, oh, no one wants. Like, who wants to go to those events? Like, I think I was at HR Technologies in the Excel in London whilst you were at Work Human in Texas, and I just remember being incredibly jealous because I was like, okay, so events can be done differently, and invariably they're done differently in the US, not in the UK. UK has a very disgusting relationship with conferences because it's like we create these huge events that are just huge NEC Excel style halls full with like Milton Keynes layout style booths and people selling their wares at these booths, and then there's some stages about people talking about stuff, but they're essentially someone who was on a booth who's now on a stage talking about exactly what they talk about in a booth, and it's just like is the word I'd use.
But it isn't a word, is it? It's a sound, and I'm the same. It's like the like
I think HR Technologies, no disrespect to anyone who organised it, it must be a huge undertaking to organise that event, but most of my time was spent in the Costa Coffee just outside it. Huge shout out to Costa Coffee. If you want to sponsor Evolving HR, let us know. Could you imagine that? Just free coffee, free like.
Oh my god, that would be so good. I still want Jellycat to sponsor us.
Well, you need to go to. Don't send me down a Jellycat rabbit hole because I will go down that rabbit hole.
Charlie, are you maying about the coffee, or is that your noise for a boring conference? And I'm now aware that turning this chili pepper around is not. That's not how it needs. That's how it needs to go. If anybody knows anyone who works at Jellycat and thinks they might want to sponsor us,
well, so let's go down the Jellycat route. Have you seen the fish and chip shop?
Oh my god, Jellycat? Yes, and they wrap them up in paper when they sell them to you. It's adorable.
It's just, I was like, I need to go there, and then I looked at the queue times and was like, okay, I'm not going there.
Yeah, it's Selfridges, I think, isn't it? Or...
It is. Yeah. And I think the founder of Brewdog was on LinkedIn the other day saying, I managed to get one. I was like, of course you managed to get one. Like, you probably just trotted up to the front and went, I'm the founder of Brewdog. Can I have a battered fish, please?
I feel like I probably keep Jellycat pretty much in business. The squad of Jellycats that I have now is quite. I'm really ruining my goth image here, aren't I?
This is a side to you that I didn't think would exist. That Jellycat, but I imagine like it's a chili pepper Jellycat, right? So are they Jellycats with a slight edge, or are you gone for like the full blown cutesy Jellycat stuff?
I've got so many.
What's your favorite?
Oh, I can't. They're my boys. I don't. I'm really weird. They're all boys. I can't. For some reason, I won't have girl Jellycats. I have boys. We call them our squad. They sit on the bed in between me and Jules. There are so many of them now that I can't even find Jules, even if I wanted to. We've got about 40.
So here's a shout out that if anyone wants to bring any Jellycat toys to Evolving HR Conference, you're more than welcome. Maybe that's what we name the tables, right? The tables could be named after Jellycat toys. So you have Chili. What Jellycat toys?
Oh, I think we should name them after like death metal bands, but have it in the writing of the death metal band logo so no one can read it because it just looks like trees.
I love that. My death metal knowledge is not. I have two very good friends that are really into death metal, and I call them my my boys who like grumpy music. It's very shouty.
Happy music. Yeah, well, we've got a friend staying with us at the moment, and he's in a band called Basement Torture Killings, which, you know,
I love it. I just love the names. It's just like
he said yesterday, we could have BTK play at your conference, and I'm like, no, because I kind of want people to stay till at least lunchtime. But he said we'll come and play. I'm like, oh my goodness! If anybody wants to Google Basement Torture Killings, do have a look. But yeah, they've been going for 17 years.
And have they always been called Basement Torture Killings? They've always had the same name.
Yeah, BTK. And it's Paul is our friend. He's like the lead guitarist, and he's like the kind of mastermind behind it. But they're actually playing a festival in Tokyo next year, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to try and go, because like I've only ever seen them in Camden, so it's nice to go see them somewhere else.
But this is the weird thing, right? So I'm into like wrestling, performative wrestling, not Olympic wrestling, and there is a huge crossover between people who love metal and people who love wrestling.
Yes, there
but
is.
I only sit on the wrestling side. I dabble in metal, like I can appreciate it. I can totally appreciate it, but like yeah, I can't remember what we were talking about.
Yeah, we've gone off on such a tangent. It's ridiculous. So yeah, sorry.
I defy any LinkedIn stream to get from Jellycat to death metal within about 30 seconds. Like
that's basically the two sides of my personality. So I mean, I can do that easily. It's like, you know, my playlist on Spotify can go from Girls Aloud to Cannibal Corpse in 5 seconds.
Cannibal Corpse.
Jules and I walked down the aisle to Cannibal Corpse when we got married.
What Cannibal Corpse song was it?
Hammer Smashed Face.
A Day of Love.
It was lovely. We were the only ones there, apart from the guy that. Yes, Charlie, it is a proper ADHD meandering conversation. I do apologise, because I don't even think Toby has ADHD, but he's going with me on the conversation here. You're keeping up. Hi, Katie.
I'm just gonna have to. I've got no words. There is a radio. Did I tell you about this podcast I listened to? That they do this thing called Metal Alarm Call, and it's two radio hosts. One of them loves metal, the other one has no idea. And what they do is they play 30 seconds of a metal song every Sunday morning to wake everybody up, and then go back to their usual music. And that is my education that I've had in metal music. Is like it's the comedian Ed Gamble. He kind of reveals all these names and songs and stuff, and like some of them I like they start really melodic and then take that melody into the complete thrash of the metal, and if that's even how you would say it, and it's really interesting. Anyway, so there's no death metal at this conference. There's no, or we might do the table names in death metal. We Jellycat may make an appearance in some guys, if we can get. Is it Selfridges in Manchester as well? I wonder if we get the fish and chip bar to just be outside in the.
I do not know actually. We'll have to find out. But yeah, let's actually talk about the conference, shall we?
We were talking about something before Jellycat, and I can't get back there. Charlie, if you're still watching,
can anyone remember what we were talking about before my ADHD kicked in?
You can get us back on track. That would be great. So we haven't revealed everything. There's some things we're holding back.
You're not going to tell me what you're asking me about.
No, there are several things that we have got to hold back, and you were worried that you weren't gonna. People were asking you on Friday at the Great Geek Together. This was it. What are you doing on the day? You are going to be on stage at some point, but what are you going to be doing for the rest of the time?
Knowing me, I'll be hiding out in the breakout area because there'll be so many people. And I managed on Friday. I managed to stay in the main hall all day, but if anybody noticed, I did fidget and go back and forth quite a lot from the front to the back. I find it really difficult to sit still all day and listen, but it was wonderful. Do you know what I realized on Friday? So this was, I don't know why I'd never thought of this before, but this was a real revelation for me. So I've stood up and spoken before at events and I've enjoyed it. But what I did on Friday with Michelle, that feeling of making people laugh, that was a whole different thing. And I was like, oh, I like this. I really like this. So my friend was like, you should do stand-up. And I'm like, don't know if I could do that. HR related stand-up might be a bit niche. But I absolutely loved that feeling of people in the room laughing. And there were a couple of comments on LinkedIn. Someone said that their stomach hurt by the end of it. And it gave me such a kick. I was like, oh, I maybe, I really like making people laugh. My cat is now howling outside the door. Brilliant. Hang on a sec. Come on then.
I mean, I feel like I should fill at this point, but there we go.
You've done stand-up, haven't you?
I have. I am in double-digit numbers for gigs. Katie says you were hilarious. Also, I just see Katie said I walked in on Jellycat table names to torture killings. That's what can happen if you enter this stream halfway. It does sound like we're talking about torture killings rather than metal bands.
Yeah, I mean, and the one thing I would say, I mean, do not get me wrong. I want this conference to be about learning, and I want everybody to walk away with like, oh, I didn't know that before, or that's really interesting. So it's like a little bit serious, but not too serious, because I just think you have to enjoy yourself. So it's like, but I do want people to get takeaways from it that they didn't know when they came in.
I think it's really important, because if we look at go back to stand-up comedy, and making people laugh and making people, because when you laugh, you're feeling something.
Hi, Marcia.
Oh, hello. I still can't get over Marcia's hat from Friday, which
I totally wanted to steal that hat.
I know.
I mean, it wasn't just the hat; it was the
boa as well, right?
The fake fur, kind of multicolored, just awesomeness.
Yeah,
she was like a rainbow walking around. It was amazing.
That was it. So stand-up comedians now craft sets that kind of inspire change. So if you look at comedians such as I've forgotten their name now, which Mae Martin. So Mae Martin talks a lot about gender, for example, sexuality. Phil Wang talks a lot about race and culture. Nish Kumar talks a lot about politics. There are comedians out there standing up on stage, making people laugh, but also making them think different stuff as well. So it's a really good mechanic to engage, inspire, and inform in a completely different way. And we go back to the aforementioned conferences that we talked about before. There ain't many laughs at those. So I think if we can get a few laughs at this, as well as the really insightful stuff, we're going to just have a lovely day.
A lovely day. That's what I want it to be, a lovely day. That'll be nice. A lovely day.
So you talked also about a HR stand-up comedian. I know one. So her name is Kim Minnick. She's based over in the States. I can't get any more specific than that because my geography is absolutely awful. I want to say Washington, but I don't know.
They're America.
But she's just started doing HR-based stand-up, and I think she's on 3 gigs now. So I will definitely connect you with her, because I think you, like, based on what you did on Friday, like, there is stand-up in you. And what is really nice is that there's a different voice to stand up. So the reason I stopped doing stand up was like this kind of stand up I was doing, loads of people were doing the same kind of stand up I was doing. Like I had too many references to Michael McIntyre to want to carry on doing stand up, to be honest. But with you, there's like a completely different edge, which you can bring something in. So let's get Krusty comedian.
Krusty the Clown is where.
I really struggled not to say that, but you've done it for me, so thank you.
I was so shocked by the coffin bag on Friday that I didn't even register until afterwards that Michelle called me up to the stage as Krusty. It kind of hit me later on that evening, but anyway, what's the point in us sitting here talking about an event that some of these people weren't there? Kate Jenkinson is talking, Charlie. Is she funny? Oh, good. That'll be lovely. Kate's just lovely, and yes, she is talking. She's talking about neurodiversity. What I wish I'd known about neurodiversity when I worked in HR. That is what Kate's talking about.
Nice.
And so that will be rather lovely. So
there's some laughs in there as well, which will be great. That's very.
And I think, and I'm hopeful at the menopause panel that we're doing. It's, you know, it's not what you'd think of menopause as being a particularly hilarious topic, although actually for those of us going through perimenopause, there's a lot of amusement about some of the things that we have to put up with. So actually I think there are a lot of women actually doing menopause related comedy, but our panel discussion is going to have a serious edge, but we've got people on the panel who are never going to experience menopause because they're young men, and so that will be quite an interesting twist to it as well, which I'm excited about. Just trying to do things a little bit differently, that's all, you know, just sort of challenge people's thinking a bit.
And yeah, that's the thing that really drew me to working with you on it as well, is the challenging the way everybody thinks, not just you know, we're looking at the broader HR industry. We've got a huge diverse group of people in the room, but also a diverse group of people on stage talking about a diverse range of topics. And like, to get people to look at content or hear stories that they ordinarily wouldn't have otherwise heard, I think is really important, because then that drives awareness and change. And, you know, from neurodiversity to menopause to some of the other stuff that we're going to be talking, burnout, all these other kind of things that ordinarily you go to a HR conference. I was talking to someone about this the other day. Go to a HR conference, there's learning and development people, there's recruitment people, there's employer brand people, there's talent development people, there's benefits people. And it's like all these buckets in HR are important, but actually the things that are really going to impact the workplace in the future aren't anything to do with those buckets. They're to do with real human things that people who are going to work are experiencing, and HR as an industry has the power to impact that.
Imagine, for example, you have a conference and the first session is on Tupi, and then the next person comes up and starts talking about, you know, collective bargaining, and the next person comes up and talks about, you know, compensation frameworks. You'd be like poking sticks in your eyes by the coffee break.
Wait, you mean we're not talking about that? These were all the questions I was going to ask you when you got on stage at the beginning. Kirsty, what's your favorite Tupi process that you...
Do you know, here's the interesting thing about Tupi. So when I worked in HR, I had 3 rules, right, from the start. These are 3 things I'm never going to touch: Tupi, trade unions, and France.
Well, 2 of those go hand in hand, if not all 3.
Yeah, exactly. And I did 2 out of 3. I had once had to do a Tupi transfer. In 25 years, I did 1 Tupi transfer, but I never ever worked in a unionized environment. And I never had to cover France I did Italy, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, Switzerland, the States, Dubai, Singapore. Never touched France. Italy's pretty tough, actually. But yeah, never touched France. And it's... see, you say pension schemes, Charlie. I was a pension trustee voluntarily for many years, and I knew an awful lot about our pension scheme in the Netherlands and our pension scheme in Switzerland. It's all of that information has now fallen out of my brain and been replaced by other things. But at the time, I was really quite clued up on pensions, and I didn't hate it. It's like I had to do payroll for a while once, and I didn't hate that either, because it's just logical.
Yeah,
and if it balanced, you'd got it right.
Yeah, there's not really a grey area with payroll, is there? It's either right or
it's
wrong.
It's either right or it's wrong, and I always like numbers for that. That was kind of them. But it's, I really Tupi. I mean, Katie just left a comment saying love a bit of Tupi, which is, not a sentence I think I've ever seen written down. But it was just, I don't know. I just feel like they've unnecessarily complicated it.
Well, my first experience of HR was Tupi. Like that was the very first thing I became aware of HR. I was like, okay, because I went through it myself. I was in a training team that worked for a provider, and then we got taken in house, just the training team, and we went through this process called Tupi, and I was like, what is this? Can't I just like quit this job and apply for a job over here? Or why are we doing this? Seems very complicated for something that should be quite simple. And really, I don't care as long as I still got the job that I wanted. Like I'm not that bothered. But like it, what's the phrase? Mountain out of a molehill is what I
feel like it kind of might be. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. There's a couple of people in the comments saying they like Tupi, and I'm rethinking some of my friendships on the basis of this. But at the core of it, isn't it just we're taking you over so you're protected for a certain period of time? We can't dick around with your benefits and your salary, but the second that minute passes, we're changing everything. Marcia,
Yeah,
Katie, tell me if I'm wrong on that. Is that it in a nutshell, but with like an awful lot of words around it that make it seem much more complicated? Or have I missed it entirely? Sledgehammer to crack a walnut. There
that's
you
great.
go.
That's way better than
Nice,
Mountain.
Charlie. That
I
is
do like that.
perfect. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't think even the people in the comments who are saying that they enjoy Tupi, you wouldn't want to go to a conference and listen to someone talk about it all day.
I don't know. Hey, let's ask the question.
Would you
Who's
like to
it?
go to a conference and hear
Marcia,
about Tupi
Katie,
all day?
if you like Tupi that much, would you go to a conference to hear an hour's worth of conversation about Tupi? And if you
Shall
would,
we have like we'll split it into like learning streams on the day, and we'll have a whole separate room where it's just people talking about Tupi.
maybe this is the third mystery panel that we're yet to confirm is the Tupi panel. We've got two people who are willing to probably sit on that panel.
Yes, unfortunately, Katie is one of our sponsors, but unfortunately cannot make it on the day. So she is sponsoring one of the question mark storytellers that we've got. We've said about this already, haven't we? That it's
I think we said it on the last live
we
stream.
did, yeah. So two of the participants of Emma Jamil's Amplify Your Impact program, they're the question marks. So I posted yesterday, I posted a couple of graphics with our speakers and one with our storytellers. And there are two question marks at the bottom, which of course triggered several emails to me from people saying, hey, it looks like you've got two gaps. And I'm like, oh, no, we know who's filling those spaces. We just don't have names yet. And I probably didn't make that clear, but Katie is very kindly sponsoring one of those speakers. And yeah, we won't know who those people are until much closer to the time or what the topic is that they're going to cover. So that'll be like a magical mystery tour.
Yeah, I'm meeting that group for the first time. What day are we on? Tomorrow.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah,
Awesome.
so we're going through the process of starting to think about what those individuals are going to be talking about and crafting that. And then we're going to a stand-up comedy night together on Monday because
wonderful.
We're taking the principles of stand-up comedy and applying them to presentation skills. Because who can get up on stage and do a tight 5 minutes and entertain a crowd without any slides? Stand-up comedians.
Yes.
So the two question marks, hopefully, will be, and if they're not, this is completely on me, will be honed professional speakers that add hilarity and insight in equal measure.
No pressure on them there, then.
No pressure on them, or the pressure's on me. If that doesn't happen, it's my fault, not their fault. Like this is yeah. I've got a couple of sessions with the Amplify Your Impact team, and we're gonna do some cool stuff. I'm quite excited to meet them all. So we've got a couple of question marks in there. We've got some cool stuff. People have come back and said, both Marcia and Katie have said, no, you wouldn't go to a conference.
Go to a conference,
but it's fine. You've made the right call.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, with most of the like transactional, legal, documented stuff, in the same way it's having an impact on the legal industry itself, is like a lot of this stuff is kind of documented via technology anyway. So the process of going through something like that should be quicker and easier because technology will enable it. So what is only left is the more human stuff.
I'm going to apologize in advance. I think Cash is about to make an appearance. Did he do this last time?
Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
You can't stop him. He's like, oh, Mum's on the phone. Mum's on a call. I'll just, where is he? Are you there?
A real life jellycat.
My giant boy. Hello. Yes, you're a good boy. So
he doesn't look that big when he's in the background, but when he's on your keyboard,
pick him up, he's enormous. Yeah, he absolutely is. But no, it's I have a well-honed 5-minute stand-up comedy routine, but it's about being late diagnosed autistic and ADHD.
There you go. Every stand-up comedian has a type 5, and Charlie has a type 5 ready to go. I have one. I could do a 5-minute set. Like I could do a 5. I'm not going to do it now. But if you said, in fact, this happened at Disrupt HR in Norwich. They screwed up the technology, and I was left on stage by myself while they tried to figure everything out with a blank screen and everything. And I just did 5 minutes. So yeah, I think that's the space you can get to. If you can just rock up on stage and do 5 minutes of comedy, then you know, not necessarily that you're hilarious, but you've got the confidence in your presentation skills to be able to do that. And I think that's the
It's
humor is a great vehicle to do that.
It really is, and I mean, humor's always been one of my go-tos, both as a coping strategy as much as anything. Like if I'm in a tricky situation, I've always used humor to kind of, you know, sort of lighten the tone a little bit. But also, I think that it's really important to recognise that a lot of the things that we have to deal with in HR are bizarre and hilarious. It's not all, you know, there's some really negative, dark stuff, of course there is, but there are also some absolutely hilarious things that come up that we have to deal with. And I think it's okay to recognize that. I think if you can't share that kind of experience with, you can't share it with your colleagues. Like if an employee's done something absolutely ridiculous and you want to have a giggle about it, you can't do that because of the confidentiality piece. But if you can just share the ludicrousness of it sometimes with others, I think it really, really helps to lighten the load, because it can be quite a burden working in HR. And it's, as you say, it's never a burden on you because of the technical stuff. It's the people related stuff. It's the aspects of people's lives that we have to get involved with and deal with. And, you know, it's very hard not to take some of that on yourself when people are going through hard things. So if there's something funny happening, then it's, you know, it's like, I use that example. I did a post the other week about the time that the traders where I worked had a food fight with raw fish, and they were flinging it around the trading floor. Like, you know, that, it was grim, but it was also absolutely hilarious. And you're like, on what planet does anybody think that's okay?
Yeah.
It's like, what? But it's like, I think of times where someone's left and they've gone out and got really drunk, and then they've come back to the office to get their bag and have sent an email around to the entire company, like sharing things that they probably shouldn't be sharing and slagging off directors and stuff. And it's like, okay, we've got to deal with this in a serious way, but also that's freaking hilarious kind of thing. It's like, we have to be able to share that with people. You know, you've got to put your serious face on and go, oh my gosh, yes, this should probably be gross misconduct. But actually really blooming funny at the same time. I like the fact that there is a growing HR community of people who aren't talking about the work, but are talking about the impact of the work and the, you know, all of the kind of feels that go with that. I think that has been missing. That has been missing so much in the past. I think of all the networking events I ever went to, they were invariably either run by a recruitment company or a law firm. Always recruitment company or a law firm. And you would go along and you'd stand there awkwardly with a glass of wine, which you drink as quickly as possible if you were me, and then go and hide in the toilet for 20 minutes. And then you get called into a room and they talk to you about employment law updates or something. And you'd just be like,
that said, I am looking forward to the 90-minute keynote on Labour's new policies on employment law, which we will start the conference with. I've seen so much of that on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm like, yeah, we are all aware that stuff is happening. We've all got eyes.
Are you joking? People are actually doing like events on that.
Yeah, just like, come on. Like,
again, this is the thing. We don't know what it's going to look like yet, so it's completely premature to do it. I would do a session on, do we actually think this is going to work in practice?
yeah.
Like, is it actually feasible to get rid of the 2-year cutoff for unfair dismissal? What's that going to look like in real life? That I'd be interested in having a conversation about. And I did a post about it a while back when it was first sort of mooted, and it was like 100% of the responses to that post were, they're not going to be able to do this unless they do something like where they make probation look different, or do something with probation periods and stuff. It's like, yeah, it will be interesting.
Well, I think, but have no fear, because I did see someone from the CIPD was at the roundtable in government discussing all these changes. So it's all right, everybody. Don't worry. We're covered. There is someone in the room who is far more educated and experienced than us, talking about all these kind of things and how it's going to impact our industry. And of course, they will disseminate that through us with great wisdom and courage and content that we'll be all super happy about what they have been in the room to decide.
I tell you the things that I really, really hate as well as at conferences. So as with nearly everything I do, everything I put together is based on all the things I hate and then just doing it differently.
Yeah.
I wish that there was a positive spin on why I do what I do, but those conferences and events where the debate is, like you just said, what is the impact going to be on the profession? What does HR need to do? I'm very much rebelling against this whole HR should at the moment. It's really, really pissing me off. It always feels like anything happens in the world of work, HR should do this. Like nobody else has any responsibility or accountability for changing anything apart from HR. And so that I don't want to do anything that assumes that there is one blanket approach across the entire HR profession that is going to work. I can't bear that. It's like we've all got different ways of interpreting things. Everything needs to be approached differently depending on the size of your organization, the industry that you're in, where you are in your life cycle, all of those sorts of things. And I'm just really, really tired of the one size fits all. Just not having any of that one size fits all. Now my cat is trying to get out and is banging the door. Excuse me.
I mean, he is a big boy. If he can, I don't know, what is he? Is he headbutting the door to try and get out?
What'd you say?
Is he headbutting the door? That was quite a bang.
Yeah, he was headbutting the door.
Wow. I mean, that sounded like a person knocking on the door. That's how.
Yeah, he's big. He's a big boy. So.
I was going to say, talking of big boys. Now, anytime I hear the phrase "big boy," I think of Harrison Cantel, which I'm sure he'll be.
Oh God.
If you weren't at the, you had to be there. You had to be there. I'm not.
You did. There were several things where you had to be there. So
yeah.
So do you think I should do the Smash Hits thing again at some point?
So yeah, I think you should. I think well, I said to you on the day, right? There's a podcast format in that. I think there's totally a podcast format. It's hilarious, and I think this is where your comedic edge comes out, is through just, in the nicest possible way, just talking to people, because you're naturally quick thinkers. And most neurodiverse people's brains obviously work in different ways to normos, or however you'd call them. What do you put
neurotypical?
Neurotypical. That was it, because there's neurospicy, neurotypical. So
yes,
like the neurospicy approach, the brain just works faster in a different way, and that's what you have. You have that ability to respond to something. Not only is it funny, but you're quicker, and therefore I was talking about this on a podcast yesterday. Most comedy is one of two things. You are either saying something that people are already thinking before they've even thought it, because your brain is working in such a different way, it's able to get there quicker, and therefore it's funnier, or you're kind of revealing something that people weren't expecting. Like you're pulling out something of the unexpected. I think both when you just naturally talk on stage like that, you do. So therefore it's funny. And then you put that in a podcast form. I'm like, of course it would work. Like, of course, you just put yourself in that natural environment, with the right guest selection is important.
Yes.
Because if you had a recruiter or a solicitor on your podcast, I could imagine most wouldn't actually be that entertaining. Sorry to all the recruiters and solicitors tuning in, who obviously aren't tuning in, but like, it's like a
I have no doubt that there's at least 400 solicitors listening right now.
Yeah, okay. Whoa, we don't want to go anywhere near this.
What
Not if we're not allowed to talk about Tupi.
I was thinking about that earlier, because what I did, for anybody that wasn't there on Friday, what I did is I had question categories. So a bit like a really silly Trivial Pursuit. So there was a choice of like career questions, HR related questions, and there actually was a Tupi one in there, but it didn't come up. I really hoped it would with Michelle, but I was happy enough that she got the Scorpion one first out the gate. So so there was personal questions, career questions, HR questions, tough questions, and then Smash Hits questions, for which I had meticulously researched old Smash Hits interviews from the 80s and 90s, and the audience was choosing which category it was. So I was thinking I could do this. I could do it for my Provider of the Month conversations, or I could do it as a podcast, and you just have them pick 5, but you would get someone that would go career, and those probably wouldn't be quite as entertaining as when you mix in the personal and the Smash Hits ones as well. But it was I've kept all the questions, and the thing is there's 50. So I did 10 questions in each category. And so nobody's ever going to pick the same ones in the same order. And even if they did, their answers are going to be different. So you've kind of got like quite a lot of different possibilities for different conversations in there. But yeah, I've kept them in my coffin bag.
I'm going to. Well, are you going to keep the scorpion on the bum question in there for every podcast guest? Because I was just about to say I'd love to come on the podcast, but I have got no stories about scorpions, unfortunately.
That's why I was so pleased that she picked that one out, because Michelle is, to my knowledge, the only person who is ever going to be able to answer yes to the question, have you ever been stung on the bum by a scorpion? And that's simply because I was there when that happened. But no, there are a couple. I've got alternative questions. There were 2 or 3 that were just Michelle ones. Like there's stuff about finding you're awesome and beige to brilliant, because that's her thing. I've got alternatives for those for non-Michelle interviewees. So yeah, I'll have a think about that. Yes, Lorraine. Oh, Lorraine, hi. We've got the first Evolving HR webinar on Thursday, and Claire Cathcart and Lorraine Ivers are going to be talking to people about getting your CV right when you work in HR, because it's one thing to review everybody else's when you're hiring, but we all screw our own up or don't do a proper job of it. And they both help people to get their CVs right.
Nice.
And I just think it's going to be, I think it's such a valuable thing. My CV was an absolute heap of garbage, like absolute garbage. I remember when I moved back to the UK in 2019, I actually paid a company to review my CV for me. And they came back and they were like, what sort of jobs are you trying to get with this? And I said, oh, I'm looking for senior, head of HR director. And they were like, yeah, this doesn't read like an executive CV. It's like, oh, okay. So it's like, it's funny because throughout my entire career, like every friend, family member, will you ever look at my CV? It's a constant. And I'm sure, anyone listening who's ever worked in HR, you get the, will you ever look at my CV? And you're like, well, I can, but it's like there isn't one right way of doing it. And what I'm looking for might be different to the next person, and give you some basic tips, but also not a recruiter. Just do it occasionally. Bye, Katie. So yeah, we won't be getting a CIPD Tupi speaker. That will not be happening, but thank you.
And so you are now doing this. This is the first in a long line of series of webinars that you're doing. Are there any more planned? Have you got anything else coming up in the pipeline?
We've got the second one for September is going to be around managing toxic workplaces, which again, I think is going to be extremely popular. And these are free, by the way, for anyone listening. It's free to attend all of these webinars. And so for that one, I've got Deborah Corey, who was there on Friday. I've got Jules Gordon, who was there on Friday, and Neil Lawrence, who was not there on Friday. But those are the 3 people talking about toxicity in the workplace and how to navigate that. We've already had, for both of these webinars, we've already had a lot of people sign up, which is amazing. But they still can. Like I say, it's free. As long as you're registered, you can access the recording anytime. And if you want to register, you do have to go into the Evolving HR app, which is also free. So absolutely no cost. And I'm really chuffed with the level of expertise that we've got, firstly as providers in the directory, but secondly for these webinars. So I sent them out a selection of topics and let everybody say which ones they might be interested in. And then I've gone through and picked who I think would be best for those based on the ones that they've suggested. So some people had selected 6 or 7, but I'm like, yeah, I know, but you're a real expert in that. So I'm gonna put you on that one, because that's one advantage. Again, is like, I know all of the providers in Evolving HR, and I know who's got what, subject matter expertise. So I was able to bring that, not just like, oh, well, this person's chosen this subject, so they must go in. It's like I've been able to bring my knowledge of the providers to get the right topics. I haven't scheduled the October, November ones yet. I know which ones they're going to be, and I have approached the speakers, and they've all said that they can do it, but we've just got to get the dates tied down and then get them announced. But it's basically going to be 2 each month.
Nice. And I think that's it's a testament to a couple of things. One, the network of people that you've created in the Evolving HR directory, super talented, super incredible people. But then your knowledge of that network as well is invaluable. That, for anyone who goes into the app and sees all these people, actually, Kirsty knows all of them and knows their specialisms and can plug people into the right people. What was I forget the t-shirt, what was on your t-shirt at the HR Big Meet?
Chief Spotlight Shiner.
Chief Spotlight Shiner. And I think that is, that t-shirt beautifully articulates what you do with the Evolving HR directory and the app. And talking about the app, we have we do have news on the app, because if you A, have the app, and B, are coming to the Evolving HR conference, the app is going to, like a beautiful caterpillar turning into a butterfly, or a caterpillar turning into a beautiful butterfly.
Metamorphosis.
So yeah, it's gonna do that word
It's gonna metamorphosize
into the Evolving HR conference app for probably 36 to 48 hours. So if you have got your ticket, make sure you have the app, because that is going to be your gateway to the agenda, connecting with other people, doing some really cool stuff with tech. So just make sure you have the app, because if you don't, you're going to be missing out. And of course, me and Kirsty will be on the stage at the beginning of the conference, asking you to do the same thing if you haven't already done it.
We totally will. The other thing I need to mention as well is that there were a lot of people I spoke to last week who were like, I'm really sorry I can't make it. We've got virtual tickets for the conference, and it doesn't mean you have to sit there and watch it all day on the 26th of November. You can either watch the live stream as it's happening, or you will just get recordings of all of the talks and watch them at your leisure. So if you go onto the ticket page for the conference, yeah, you can get a virtual ticket. It's only 50 quid, and you'll get access to everything, all of the talks that we're doing on the day, all of the speeches and everything. So that's pretty cool.
It is cool, and now we
No
get to
one
the scary
needs to
bit.
miss out. No one needs to actually go to Manchester if that's impossible for them. So,
But you're gonna. I don't want to create any FOMO, but like, I'm just honestly looking forward to getting into that venue. Like, the venue looks spectacular. It's going to be.
And I'm thinking about goodie bags, but I don't think I could even come close to producing what Michelle produced on Friday, and I'm not going to try to. But yeah, we will speak to our sponsors about some little goodie bags. I was telling my sister at the weekend, I was talking to my sister about this conference. She went, "Will there be free pens?" And I'm like, "You don't want an HR pen." She's like, "Free pens though." My sister and I are quite similar with the stationery thing.
Okay, so pens. I need to see if I've got my pen. So I have a series of pens that I bought.
This is my favourite one that Michelle got. Look, I hate people. HR Gig Squad.
I love it.
That one really tickled me.
This one. This is. I don't know if you can see this. It says what the actual shit fuckery is this.
Fuckery is this? Oh my god.
And my wife bought me a set of pens that all have these kind of phrases on, which I use in every single meeting, but because they're so subtle, like no one ever picks up on it. But
my sister sent me a few of what. Oh yeah, that one says. My sister sent that through the post to me with no explanation, no note, just a pen in an envelope that said that. Very funny. Yeah, she's obsessed with that brand, my sister.
So humorous pens feel like the thing we need to come up with.
Yeah, maybe not too sweary.
Maybe not too sweary. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll come up with an idea.
My thing for it is like, I don't want to put rules around it on the day at all. And there is no dress code other than, please wear something.
Good advice, yeah. Have you put that on the tickets? Please wear.
Somebody said that to me on Friday. Is there a dress code? And I'm like, oh, if you've met me, you will know how much I hate dress codes. And I think I said this on our last call. Wear whatever the hell you feel comfortable in. If you want to turn up in an hoodie and your slippers, do. Absolutely fine, as long as you don't mind getting them dirty on the floor. Wear what you want. Wear what you want. Say what you want. Be yourself. That's my only ask of people. Just.
I think that's a lovely way to end today's live stream. 76 sleeps, 77 days.
11 weeks today. I'm going to start getting a few more posts out there about what we've got going on and all of that stuff. So my VA has been working in the background to get me some nice little graphics and things I can use. I'm rubbish at that. They'll all look absolutely pants if I try and do them myself. So.
And I would say that we are doing another live stream next month. So we're making these a regular thing in the run-in to the event, as he now furiously looks for when the next one is. I think it's in October.
October sometime.
It's the beginning of October. It's not in my calendar. Kirsty, when are we doing?
Are you joking?
Oh, no, it's the 15th of October. It's
15th
there.
of
It's in the,
October.
mid-
Okay,
it's in
well,
the
we
middle of
might actually
October.
prepare something then, so that we're not talking about death metal and jelly cats. And
That's the vibe. That's the vibe of the live stream. This is the personality that you bring. It's the personality that I bring. And this event is going to be full of personality. It is unstructured, but we are all passionate and knowledgeable about what we do. And therefore, that'll be the most entertaining format.
Toby's bringing structure and sense to it, where I am unable. Or maybe he isn't. Oh, your face is a picture. Sense? What?
I just hear Emily in the back of my head for most of this stuff now. Is like, if she heard someone say that I am in charge of structure and sense, she'd be extremely worried. So not to be too worried.
Emily's going to be there on the day, though, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
Emily is
keep us
part of
in order.
absolutely everything that we do. So, yeah, if she wasn't, the train would not be on the tracks much longer.
Oh God, if it was left to me, all the speakers would be on stage at the same time, shouting for the same.
It'd be a lot quicker conference that way.
Yeah, we'll be done by lunchtime.
Right, we've talked
All
enough.
right.
We're going to love you and leave you, our beautiful audience, and we will see you either on the 15th of October for our penultimate live stream,
Ooh.
or at the actual event. Everybody,
Oh my goodness.
have
So
a great
excited.
Tuesday.